I'm speaking today with Elise Kratzer, who is a junior at Princeton University, majoring in computer science, graduating in 2024. Elise is pursuing a certificate in entrepreneurship and is the president of the Princeton Entrepreneurship Club. Welcome, Elise. Thank you for making time.
Hi, Philip. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to share with you more about the entrepreneurship program here at Princeton.
Thank you. Was the Entrepreneurship Center or the Entrepreneurship Certificate a factor in your deciding to attend Princeton?
Yes, it most definitely was. I did a lot of research into different schools and what programs they offer. And for me, a big reason I was drawn to Princeton is because it's obviously a liberal arts school and we have our major, but then you also can choose from a really long list of certificates that often interest students. And I immediately, even when I was applying, and a big reason to apply was I found the Keller Center, which is obviously one of our big entrepreneurship hubs on campus. And then everything is super easy to see and access. And I could read all about what the entrepreneurship certificate is, the goals of the program, types of thinking that we get to do, including design thinking work, creativity, innovation. And then they also had a bit more arguably kind of hardcore traditional courses, such as on venture capital, and then a few very diverse ones, including business ethics. And then I read to every year and every semester even, they publish different course lists and bring in visiting professors who teach really cool special topics and entrepreneurship courses. And so read all about that. I can't recall, but I may have even chatted with a student when I was applying or having interviews, et cetera, who was in the program and spoke really highly of it. So definitely a factor.
The term is a certificate of proficiency in entrepreneurship at Princeton. What is that program? As I understand it, okay, it's both coursework as well as a practicum, experiential learning. And you had mentioned ethics in entrepreneurship, and that one certainly stuck out to me. That's actually in the Department of Religion. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It's a very unique one. It's cross-listed with religion, which means we definitely discuss religious values and how that can apply to entrepreneurship and business leaders.
But so the program itself it has some required courses, a couple of required courses, and then you can choose from any number of other entrepreneurship courses that are in other departments. So it's not just engineering, not just in economics department. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, which I think is wonderful because depending on your interests, you can really make the entrepreneurship certificate your own.
What are some of the other resources at the Keller Center for entrepreneurship that you take advantage of?
Yes, that's a great question. I think for me personally, given my leadership role in the Princeton Entrepreneurship Club, the main resources I take advantage of are the people there. So I work closely with the director of the Keller Center and then also the director of we call it PEC, Princeton Entrepreneurship Council, which focuses more on alumni, and Keller Center is more focused on entrepreneurs who are current students or entrepreneurial minded. So I meet with them actually very often and kind of discuss what programming are they having? Can I advertise their workshops that they put together? And then can they advertise our workshops? They also fund the Entrepreneurship Club heavily. So that's wonderful. And there's a variety of other programs that some of my close friends and then just also student peers have taken advantage of, such as summer internship opportunities related to entrepreneurship. There is Tiger Challenge, which the creativity, innovation, design teacher leaves. So many different resources out there.
Yeah. So were you an entrepreneur in high school?
That's a great question. I think it depends on how you define entrepreneur. Did I have my own successful startup that was making a good amount of money? No, but I did design many community service and leadership projects that arguably use some entrepreneurship skills. And then I've also kind of always run my own little business in terms of tutoring and mentoring. So depends on how you label entrepreneurship.
I would certainly say that the answer to that question is yes.
Okay, great.
And how does Princeton University define entrepreneurship?
That's a wonderful question. I don't think I can necessarily recite one definition. And in my opinion, that's a really good thing because, of course, I am part of the Entrepreneurship Certificate. I've technically taken all the classes and I'm also part of the club, but there's no one person who is kind of breathing down my neck being like, entrepreneurship is this and only this. And I assume on purpose, the program doesn't define one definition of it. Kind of to me, entrepreneurship is very broad. And I think given my leadership this year of the Entrepreneurship Club, on purpose, we want to attract members who are not necessarily entrepreneurs who have a startup already, but are entrepreneurial minded and want to, innovate within the education space, within design, within academia. So for me, it's kind of all about the mindset entrepreneurs have in terms of wanting to do something different, looking to problem solve, being creative. That is kind of how I look at entrepreneurship. And I think many of my peers in the centers here think of it as well.
Excellent. Thank you. What are the benefits? What do you see as the benefits of having a certificate in entrepreneurship on your transcript? You're a computer science major. What do you see are going to be the benefits to have that on your transcript?
Oh, so many benefits. That's a fantastic question, Philip. First off, for students who are potentially interested in earning an MBA down the line, I think these courses are kind of a great first stepping stone to get an idea of the type of business, entrepreneurship, financial courses you would have there. I think number one, too, is the people. I think everyone obviously has pretty specialized majors at Princeton, but entrepreneurship genuinely has such a diverse range of students, literally from all majors, all class years, international students, US students who come together. And so it's even more innovative in terms of the type of thinking, because it's not just like it's computer science or economics students in entrepreneurship and that's it, because that definitely has like a certain type of person. Right. And for me, most of my closest friends are involved in the Entrepreneurship Club in some ways or in the certificate, and just everybody kind of in these courses wants to not only learn how to think like an entrepreneur and get some tangible project ideas, but also wants to build on skills such as communication and public speaking, how to sell yourself, how to sell your ideas, etc. So many benefits there. And I think too, it's just perfect for the liberal arts education because it really balances out everything. And final thing I'll say is, for me, I'm interested in computer science to gain the technical skills, but I don't just want to be a software engineer. I really want to kind of combine technology and entrepreneurship and business. So it's absolutely perfect for me to be able to do that at this school.
You mentioned being able to present and share your ideas lucidly, in front of an audience, say. Are there any theater majors who are also pursuing their certificates in entrepreneurship that you're aware of?
Not that I am aware of. That is a very interesting question. So I cannot answer that, but they should be. I'm a big proponent of everybody of all disciplines should be in entrepreneurship, because that is how we are going to have more and more innovation at this school and in this world. So hopefully. Couldn't
agree with you more. Elise, so I'm going to read off. I've got 8 terms, and I just want to, my question is, are you familiar with them? And if so, what do they mean to you? Okay. So number 1, lean startup.
Yes, I am familiar. I've read the book.
Design thinking.
Yes, very familiar.
And what does it mean to you?
Yes.
How would you define it?
I would define design thinking as a process, number one, and also a mindset in terms of approaching absolutely anything in your life, whether that's kind of how you organize your day-to-day or how you're doing a project, or literally within a startup. I think so many teams, engineers, designers, marketing, etc., should go through that design thinking process to figure out kind of your end goal. What is your game plan? What are your ideas? Brainstorming, talking with stakeholders, prototype, testing, just the whole gamut there.
Mm-hmm. Is jobs to be done?
Jobs to be done? Yes, I am familiar, because right now I am in a product manager boot camp on campus, and we just had a lecture on that yesterday.
Oh, excellent. Systems thinking?
Yes, I've definitely read that around, but I don't think I've studied that term a ton.
Okay. That's exactly the answer I'm looking for.
Okay.
Customer discovery.
Yes.
And what does it mean to you?
Customer discovery is kind of the process. In my opinion, customer discovery is the process of figuring out who your customers are and then also what your customers want. So figuring out how to build products that are useful to them and that they're going to love.
Do you think that the term customer discovery should be modified? Because not all stakeholders are going to be customers. I mean, just by definition. I mean, why not just call it stakeholder discovery?
I think that's a fantastic point. I've never thought of it. I think that makes sense. I think normally when I've read about that or in an entrepreneurship class, we've brought that up. Normally we do bring up stakeholders and customer discovery, but it's kind of separate and the stakeholders aren't considered customers, but it's more investors, the general public, et cetera.
And in terms of customer discovery, what do you think of having on your team psychology majors who know how to put together research projects, questions, questionnaires, and actually know how to speak with people as opposed to some of the deeper engineers, the ones who are really deep into it.
I would be all for that, definitely.
Business model canvas.
No, not familiar.
Okay. Venture capital. I mean, we talked about this earlier. Actually, you had worked at a venture capital firm over the summer as an intern. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Fail fast.
Yes, I've also heard that term.
In what context and what does it mean to you?
I think it's never been discussed in depth. I think it's more like one of those common sayings people throw around, fail fast, the idea of like you should be trying different things, experimenting and innovating, but try to, fail fast. So don't just like wait until your product's perfect to launch it. Like, launch it really early on. If it fails, quickly pivot and go on from there. So kind of an efficient method.
In many cultures, in many groups, the term fail is not seen as a positive.
Right.
And so, but I hear it a lot in entrepreneurship programs. This is what you want to do. Again, in terms of just the terms, it's why not be more inclusive and shift to, test fast, because that's what you're doing really is you're testing your hypothesis. And if you're an engineer or if you're in a laboratory, if you're failing fast and using the term failing fast, then you're never going to try anything. It's actually just testing and refining.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Okay. What do you see as the difference between a commercial startup and a social impact endeavor?
That's a great question. I think commercial startup has most of their focus, if not all, on how to have good margins, make a profit, very financial focus on their numbers. And I think startups that are more focused on social impact, some of them obviously could be completely not for profit or really not thinking about finances, or they can be thinking about that, but also social impact. So arguably often do not achieve the same financial success.
But if you are heading up a social impact endeavor, and if you're not paying attention to the numbers, then you may not have long-term sustainability as a foundation to achieve the goals that you've set out. So, do you agree with that comment?
I do agree with that, and I think let me refine what I was saying. I definitely think they pay attention to the numbers in terms of like they want to stay afloat, they want to keep up with their programming. I think what I mean is they're not as concerned with, okay, we made all of this extra in cash, that's our profit, that's like for us or for our stakeholders, et cetera, right? But definitely like need to keep an eye on the numbers in order to continue their arguably awesome social impact initiatives and hopefully even expand those.
Are you familiar with the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals?
I am, yes.
Okay. Is that something that has come up as part of the certificate program?
I don't know if I recall that exactly, especially because I have been looking into those a lot for a personal project of mine this past year. So I can't remember if it was first brought up through school or not.
Did either of your parents start or run a business?
No.
Okay. Are you connected as a student at Princeton? Are you connected with a mentor or and a member of the alumni community at Princeton?
Yes, definitely. Multiple.
Is that part of the certificate program, or is that just something that you've pursued on your own?
I think I pursue that heavily on my own. I do know, though, now that I'm a junior in the certificate program, I have recently been matched with an official mentor who will guide me on my practicum, which is my big culmination project and paper for the certificate.
Um, After you graduate, do you plan to stay connected with the university as a mentor for future entrepreneurship certificate participants?
100%.
And so extending that, let's just say that I'm a graduate of Princeton. In the last few years, I am a certificate holder, certificate in entrepreneurship holder, and you are a freshman. And let's just say
Yes.
you don't have the background that you do, but let's just say you're a freshman. What could what would you benefit by asking a graduate who already has a certificate? I mean, what are some of the things that would benefit a freshman or a sophomore, somebody who's not even familiar with entrepreneurship at all?
Definitely. I think I'd ask for a certificate graduate alumni just really about what their certificate means to them. The average kind of freshman who's just reading kind of online what their certificate is, it's hard for that to really come to life and for you to fully grasp how interdisciplinary the certificate is, which we kind of chatted about at the beginning of this conversation. So definitely, I think a freshman, sophomore, the first thing I would ask is, hey, can you explain in your own words, like, what is the certificate? How did you choose to navigate the certificate? Like, did you make it your own? Did you have a focus in, any kind of entrepreneurship things? And then what did you get involved in through the certificate program? For example, were you able to meet someone who introduced you to this? Did you participate in any Keller Center, PEC activities, etc.? And then two, kind of how have you used this certificate after graduation in the first few years this alumni has been out of Princeton?
Excellent. I can't thank you enough. Your responses have been incredibly insightful.
Yay.
And I really appreciate them. Thank you.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for having me, Philip. Thanks for the great work.